X was a man of God, don't get me wrong. Like, he knew his father. I saw him manifest his whole life. But when he got up in that devil's playground, which is the music industry, I saw him gain the world and lose his soul.
So give it up for the Tashera Simmons.
Hey.
A large part of the world know you as DMX's ex-wife. I really want to know the woman.
A family of 7 kids. I'm the oldest. At the age of 14, though, my mom said she was going to the store and never came back. 5 years later, my mother, it was a knock on the door. She walked in with a baby. Come to find out, my mom left my dad for his father.
Tashera.
Yep, kicked my grandmother out of her house.
Oh, babe.
And I didn't get therapy till after my divorce. And I had so much other things to unpack before I even jumped into marriage.
Now, why did you say yes to dating DMX at 17 years old, child?
Earl, he didn't have anything. He was so attached to my struggle, and I was attached to his struggle in a way that I was just like, wow, we're the same people.
Where was his parents at the time that you guys met?
He was very hurt, and his mother just not loving him the way he knew he should be loved.
You had to be this man's wife, but also his mom in a sense.
I feel like he was always looking for his mother's love. Unfortunately, a lot of women in that path got hurt.
Because infidelity played a huge part of the destruction of the relationship.
I allowed a lot of things that he did within the marriage. The more famous he got, the more higher he got, the more foolishness he did. What is he gonna do if I leave him? I'm like, he's gonna die. Like, I literally used to feel like that. Just loved him so deeply, and I felt almost like I was his mother.
Did the drugs happen prior to the fame?
When he had the money and no one can control it, it just got crazy.
DMX obviously has 15 children with 9 different women. What is your relationship like now with the women that he had children with?
What I would say is,
do you recall in the heyday how much money he accumulated?
Say we were very close to being billionaires. They asked X about the Barclays Center. They called him and said Jay is in, and they want to know if he want to put in $1 million to get in. X didn't want to do it, and now look.
You know, you can make all that money and then die not having anything to show for it.
And that hurts me. Like, all these women that's fighting and feel they're entitled, they fighting for pennies.
There's no money to be distributed.
No, his biggest assets is his catalogs, his music.
And who has that as of today?
So,
unfortunately, he died broke. Subsequently, there is this sort of battle when it comes to the estate. You stand still as of today as the only woman he legally married. Where are you with that as of today?
Damn. So what I can say is,
what is your relationship like now with like Swizz Beatz, Eve, and the Rough Riders family?
After X passed away, I was mad at everybody. I saw him 6 days before it happened, and he told me, he said, my vessel is so tired. This may not make sense to you right now, Tashera. He said, but what I do know is my name will live on forever.
Hey Raindrops, now before we get into this video, I want to talk to you about joining my community. Yes, my YouTube community of subscribers. So make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. It helps build the channel and build our community. I love it when you guys comment and post. So remember, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel.
Hey Raindrops, on today's episode of Reality with the King, I'm here with the woman that you guys know, but you may not know. And today we are here to get to know a lot about her because she has a new book out called Dying to Self.
Yes.
Dying to Self. And we're here to not only talk about that, but her life, her experience being in the hip hop industry, this reckoning that's happening, and of course, her late ex-husband, DMX. So give it up, ladies, gentlemen, and they, for the Tashera Simmons.
Hey, woo.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, man, I'm feeling so blessed. Happy to be here with you, sitting here with Carlos, Mr. Carlos King.
Well, I'm happy you here.
Yeah,
I really am. I obviously know a lot about you. You have been a part of like the conversation for a very long time. You have a personality, baby.
Yes. Yes, and people have no idea.
No, I'm like, you are a fun girl, and you read the girls.
Yes.
So listen, don't read me, Tashera. Okay? Make sure we good.
Yeah, we good, Carl.
Okay.
We here.
All right, because I don't want no problems, Harlem. Okay, but I want to really use this opportunity to share, to get to know you. Obviously, a large part of the world know you as DMX's ex-wife. But before we get into that, I really want to know the woman. So talk to me just about like where you grew up, a little bit about your childhood, because you obviously had a life before you met the late, great DMX.
Yes. So I grew up in Yonkers, a family of 7 kids. I'm the oldest, so 4 girls and 3 boys. Yes, my mother and father, I was raised Muslim. And I talk about this a lot, how my ex-husband is the one who brought me to Christ. But that was a very strict Muslim home. At the age of 14, though, my mom said she was going to the store and never came back. My youngest was 1 year old. I was 14. I thought I was just getting ready to get out there and finally be a teenager, get my first job. And I had to turn from a teenager to a mother literally overnight.
Wait. Your mom said, I'm going to the store, and you're 14 years old, you're the oldest. Where was your father at this time?
So my father, we were very close at the time, great father, great Muslim, family. He lost it. At first, he was there.
So they were married?
They were married. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
so
we were married.
Not a single mom?
Not a single
Got it.
mom, together, married. He was, out with his friends. She said she was going to the store. I was supposed to go to this block party that I begged them to go to because it was very strict. But because I was getting up in age, they agreed to let me go. I said, Mom, she was a seamstress, so she's supposed to be fixing my jeans for me. I was like, Mom, Carrie's going to be here in another 2 hours. She said, I'll be right back. I'm just going to the corner store. She never came back. I waited for an hour. I went to the store because it's literally on the corner. She wasn't there. I went to the corner. I looked down to see maybe she's at the other store coming up the hill. 3 hours go by, 2 or 3 hours. My friend is there. I had to just throw something on. I knew something wasn't right because the 7 kids, she's always been, until that point, a devoted mother to us. I have nothing ill to say about her up until that moment. And that's really where my strength or a real adversity started, when I was 14 years old.
And there were like no signs of her unhappiness, depression, or did anything lead up to that moment that you can think about now?
Yep. So looking back, I remember a woman maybe a year before that coming to the house asking for my father. I remember my mother going, because I opened the door and she asked for my father. I remember my mother going to the door telling me to step back, and she went out and closed the door. I remember when she came back in, the tension that her and my father had, and going in the back. So there was some infidelity there. My dad was totally different from my mom. She's from Panama, very reserved and soft-spoken. My dad was from Brooklyn, very fast-talking, gift the gab type of a brother. So now looking back, I see a lot of just kind of just taking over, just always taking over conversations, overlooking her feelings, kind of stepping all over her. But I didn't know that. I only know that as I got older and I sat back and was just like, okay. But it still doesn't give her, I don't know how, a mother of 4, I don't know how you can just walk out on your 7 children.
And when your father found out, what was that conversation like? Were you the one who told him, like, Mama left and shh?
Yeah, so I was sitting on the stoop, waiting. It was a summer night, I'll never forget it, with my friend Carrie, who I went to the block party with. My dad walked up and smelling the stench of liquor, and I said, Mom didn't come home. And at that time, my siblings were just outside playing. 2 of them was at their godmother's house in the building, but I felt that eerie feeling in the house, which was very rare because so many kids. My mom was always like a mom that stayed home. And he looked at me with no care and said, oh, she'll probably be back shortly, and just went in the house. But I knew that there was something wrong, that she still didn't come back. It was 8 o'clock at night now.
Did she ever come back?
She came back. So 5 years later, just so you know, my father turned to drugs. He went from my best friend to my greatest enemy because I didn't know at the time about drugs and alcohol. I just remember the smell, and, you know, at them in the 70s, they're smoking weed. Everybody's just having fun, beer. That's how I kind of looked at it. And he was angry. He said I looked a lot like her. He called me out my name a lot. And it was just very uncomfortable. So I wound up going to stay with my god sister, and I would just come back and forth. He used to steal my money. I only had a Burger King job, so it was just maybe $60 every time I got paid. He would take that and he used to say, like, you live in my house. This is my money. Anything you bring in here is mine. And mind you, now I talk about this in a book, but I start off, you'll see, I talk about what a foundation and loving bond that me and my dad had, and how I literally saw what trauma and, you know, I guess not loss, abandonment, what it does to someone. Because I was oldest, so he turned it all on me. And 5 years later, my mother, it was a knock on the door. And at this time, I just was always back and forth because of my brothers and sisters, but I wasn't living there because of the circumstances. And she walked in with a baby in her pouch, like she never left. We were in shock. We didn't even know what to say. But I'm going to tell you a story, which I don't know if I've ever talked about this, but come to find out, my dad knew what happened. So I was 14 years old, so we were little. We were on the streets, you might as well say, with friends, family. And come to find out, my mom left my dad for his father.
Tashera.
Yep, kicked my grandmother out of her house.
Wait. Go ahead, go.
Kicked my grand, went on to Jersey, because it was all going on in New Jersey. That's where my father's family was from. Went on over there. I guess they finally, now I'm assuming that they finally was like, we making this official. Kicked my grandmother out. Now, mind you, they in their 70s. And
your mom at this time, how old is she?
She had to be in her 30s.
So your mother, who is married to your biological dad, left you guys to be in a relationship with your biological dad's father.
Yep.
Who at the time, your mother's in her 30s and he's in his 70s. And your grandmother got kicked out the house, and your mom was sleeping with her husband's dad and
had a baby by
him. And your father knew this whole time, hence the drug addiction and the anger. Oh, babe. Okay.
Yeah.
So she comes in the house with the baby in tow.
And just like, hi God, Tashera, because she have an accent. And I'm like, Mom, Mom, where were you? Like, who's the baby? Like, we were just so stuck. And my father lost it. He said, you better get out this house. And it was, I was like, no, like, it was like I was torn, because I was like, she's back though. Like, what happened? I want to know what's going on. Get the fuck out of here, Marcia. Who the hell you think you are? Coming back here with this baby. And I was there with my god sister, so we were like, what is happening? Like, okay, I get it, but I really didn't get it because I'm still really young. I think I had to have been about 17, 18 then. And so I still haven't been in a real relationship. So I really didn't, well, I met X when I was 17, but it was like really the beginning of so it was like still dating, boyfriend and girlfriend. So I didn't really get a chance to live life to understand why my father was so angry. just the fact that she left him and walked out, but then to come in with a kid. But then I found out afterwards because he made sure she got out of there and she left. And then I was just like, what, daddy, what happened? Like, she's back. Don't you want to know? That's the bait. Like, and he just, my first time I've ever seen him cry. And he was just like, and he told me what happened. He said he went out there when he heard about it. Nobody wanted to tell him. He had to find out from a friend. He went to go see for himself. And he said he brought a with him because he said that, and a smoke, he threw a smoke in the house so he could, and he said he saw my mother run out with a tank top and some little shorts. And he said he was planning to both of them. And he was on the side of the house. And he said, and when he looked, he seen a neighbor staring right at him from the house in between, because he was in between houses. And he said he knew that was nothing but God. He said because he wasn't thinking. Mm-hmm. He was so angry, and he had these 7 kids at home that was already struggling. And he said, he was in so much tears when he was telling me. And at that moment, I could truly say I really didn't get it, like that kind of hurt, what that hurt may feel like, until I had to experience my own abandonment and betrayal, which I talk about that in the book too. Yeah. And I ain't giving it all. I'm giving a lot just so you know my backstory, and
pick up the book to read more about that. I am so sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow. So it's okay. So obviously your mother has a baby with your grandfather. So not only is that your brother, you guys are cousins, kind of, right? I think
is that my nephew?
Is that your nephew? My nephew?
Your brother?
Wait, your grandfather's offspring. Yeah, that's your uncle.
That's my uncle. Yeah, that's
like your uncle. That's your brother, your uncle.
My brother, uncle. So I will say, after all this came out, I found out that my dad, that's not his biological, but the only dad he's ever known. His father passed when he was 7.
Got it.
And then his mother met him, and he's been in his life since he was 7, 8 years old. But it's the only father he's ever known.
Yeah.
So,
did your mom come back to the house to like move back in, or just to say like, hey?
Yep, she kept trying. I was very open and forgiving.
So she wanted to move back in the house?
Oh no, not that house. Oh, she wasn't coming. She wound up getting an apartment in Yonkers.
But did her and your grandfather break up?
Yes.
That's why she came back to the house?
Yeah, he actually tried to shoot her foot off. She came back with inner crutches with her foot bandaged up. And she said, yeah, he tried to shoot my foot off. Yeah, I can't make this stuff up.
No, you can't. I mean, girl.
Talking about dysfunction. I'm like, yeah.
It's good in terms of... I'm saying, yeah.
You won't be able to put it down.
Yeah, no, it's a page turner.
You be like, wait, what happened after that? Like,
oh my Lord Jesus.
Yeah, when you think you know, you have no idea. Like,
is your mom still around today?
She just passed away last January 13th.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, yeah.
To hear that.
I know. You know what? And I was taking care of her. Mm-hmm. I moved her into an adult living home because she didn't want to stay at my house because my father was living there. And he never got over it.
He never got over it.
He never got over it. And that's something I learned from that. I was just like, I can't hold on. Like, he was so bitter to the very end. And I was just like, I can't be like that. I saw how it controlled his life, how he looked at women. That's why he's, talked junk to his daughters. And, he gave a little favoritism to his sons. We noticed it. He showed love, but it was always kind of like, he showed love, don't get me wrong. But you just always saw that. And I was just like, I don't ever want to be like that. Mm-hmm. And I used to tell him, I was very transparent to my dad. I was like, Dad, you gotta forgive Mom. Like, what, like... Look at her. Like, he had a better off life than she did. I mean, she ended up later on getting into a very serious car accident where she lost her only sibling. And she was so depressed that she didn't want to go into therapy. And so she wound up being wheelchair bound. And it was the saddest thing I've ever seen. And I learned from that, and she loved God. She praised God. I guess to just have life, because she actually ended up with a very lonely, miserable life in the end. It was very sad.
And your father, he
Do you know he just passed last August?
I'm sorry.
He knew he was sick. He had cancer. Do I talk about that in the book? But he had some prostate cancer that could have been healed.
Yeah.
But he's this old school, prideful man. I didn't find out till the last 30 days, and he had it for 8 years. And I was angry.
Of course.
Because he did turn his life around, and I dedicate, one of my dedications is to him, because he ended up, when me and ex split, he came in and he was the father to my children that he was never to me. And for that, I was so grateful.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
So I know I'm moving, speeding ahead, but
oh no, you're doing just fine. You're just fine. I mean, it's listen. One thing about trauma that you go through in your childhood, and unfortunately, especially at that time, therapy wasn't even an option.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, to deal with that, Tashera, I commend you for being the strong woman you are today.
Thank you.
Because I baby, me nor the raindrops child I cannot imagine going through that.
Seriously.
My heart goes out to you and your siblings, and obviously may your parents rest in peace. But
and to your point, like, I've dealt, and this is the point of my book, Dying to Self, because I've dealt with so much trauma in my life, and it was so normalized. And I not until therapy is when I realized that I had a lot of luggage. And I didn't get therapy till after my divorce. And I had so much other things to unpack before I even jumped into marriage.
Yeah.
So I was just like, and I had to, therapy was for my flesh, I say, and God is for my spirit and my soul, because
Amen.
It was a lot of work that needed to be done in this girl.
Yeah, no, I mean, and listen, and unfortunately, at 14 years old, being a young woman, your mother is your superhero, because she is supposed to teach you how to be a woman. Yeah. So not to have that, especially when you're the oldest, and you by default are now assigned as not only the big sister, but like the mother figure to your siblings. And that's not fair to you at 14 years old, as you're trying to figure out like what's going on with my body, what's going on with my hormone, what's going on with like just life in general. So like, did you have dreams and aspirations as a teenage girl that you wanted to get into? Like, what was that like for you in terms of like being in high school? Did you ever want to go to college and stuff like that?
Yeah, you know what? I did. I wanted to be a model because I was always tall. Tallest girl in the class. I thought about acting, just because everyone would say, you're such a character. And I used to make all these faces. And mind you, I'm only 14. So I'm just like, I'm about to be able to because I was the number one babysitter. I was finally about to go out and live life. I thought. And then all this happened. And in the interim of it, when I was 11, I met my ex-husband. And then we got together, started dating when I was 17. So being the broken little girl that I was at the time, I didn't know I was broken. I didn't move like I was broken. I've always had this happy, cheerful spirit. I don't know. And that's why I said, I just feel like the Spirit of God has always been on my life, because one of the things he said to me as a kid, because he had his own stuff that he used to tell me about, and he was like, how are you so happy? Like you're always so happy, you're so positive. And I was just like, I guess this is the path I chose, because being negative, I don't like the way it feels.
Yeah.
And it's the survival mode that I think I was always on when I look back. Because when I first sat in therapy, when the first thing she asked me about was, talk about your childhood. And do you know, it took me almost a week before I can get it out. I literally cried and sobbed on that couch. And she said, you can do that. Every time I tried to talk about it, and I never thought that it even bothered me. So I was just like, what is happening here? So I know that I had to melt. I had to melt down this person that just continued to pick up luggage after luggage after taking on, being the oldest, taking on, helping everyone, being there for everyone. I mean, then I meet my ex-husband, being there for him, you know, just having a nurturing spirit that God obviously gave me. It just, to a fault, I think now. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote Dying to Self, because then I became a people pleaser without even realizing it.
Yeah.
A yes girl, never hard to say no, because I'm always, for some reason, thinking that seeing myself in everyone. Like, and I'm like, oh, I would want someone to say yes to me. Like, just, I mean, the craziest things too. Like, where it's like, girl, they have no regard for you. Like, they don't even care about you. Like, why are you?
Yeah, no, listen, the disease to please is an actual disease, right? And like you, I was the same way as well. And oh no, absolutely. And then one thing I love now, Tashera, that I will give you advice, saying no feels good, baby.
Oh.
I love saying no now.
Oh, my
and when I say to you, I have no, baby, no, child, I'd be like, no. And people, they'll stare at you like,
did they just say that?
Right.
I'm telling you.
I'd be like, my spirit didn't move. Child, I'd be like, nah, my spirit ain't moved. Like, it has, you know what I'm saying? But I
love that.
No, so my advice to you is like, listen, you're already healed in that sense, but to y'all, say no to folks, child. The disease to please is an actual disease, and I'm telling you, saying no feels great. And even if you think they're mad at you, they'll get over it, child, because they're gonna need you for something else that you may say yes to.
That's right, 100%. You're 100% right.
Yeah.
And that, I'm like you giving me flashbacks, because this year, ever since my father passed, my life has totally changed. I was just like, you know what? Life is short, and I'm tired of pleasing people. People don't. I give them a whole cake, and if I don't give them that little slice, I'm the worst person in the world. I'm like, but what happened to all the other pieces of cake I gave you?
Child, they mad because you gave them the cake, and what I realized is instead of giving them the cake, you got to give them the ingredients to make their own cake.
Yes, that part.
Like I always tell people, it's easy to borrow money from me, but how about you borrow my mind so I could teach you how to make that money so that you can make it on your own?
Right.
Because me giving you $100, right? You take it and you run with it, you spend it, and you want more money in 5 days, okay? But if you borrow my mind, I can teach you how to make that $100 and flip it. But nobody wants to borrow the mind because it's too much work. They want the easy way out, which is borrowing things from you, like the whole cake, child. No, you need some vanilla extract. You need some brown sugar. You need the vanilla icing, non-GMO, gluten-free.
Tired. I'm tired. That's right. Non-GMO, gluten-free. I love that part.
Just saying.
Yes, that's the
what it has
clean.
to be. That's what it
Yeah,
has
it's
to be.
true though, man.
Yeah.
It's like, it has to be. And you're right. It's so liberating. It's so freeing. When I started saying no, and at first I still had that little like, oh, but then I was just like, yeah, no, yeah. And then it just started, like you said, spirit wasn't moved. I have a spirit of discernment. I always knew I was wrong when I said yeah, but I was still saying, I knew I should have said no, but I said yeah. And I'm like, and that feeling of knowing you should have said no, it just sits with you. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was just sitting with me. I was like, sure, why did you say yes?
But it's good. At least you know now.
Yeah.
Now, why did you say yes to dating DMX at 17 years old, child?
Honey, let me tell you. I was. Honey.
Tall, dark, and handsome, honey.
Girl,
And
tall, dark, handsome, while good girls like bad guys. Honey, he was a bad boy.
Good boys like bad boys, too.
Come on now.
Well, you know.
We right here with it now.
So wait, what was DMX like at 17 years old? Was he barking?
I'm about to say, girl. I was like,
You can.
girl. He was barking. He was robbing. He was stealing. He was a hot mess, but I loved every part of that. When I tell you, I loved every bit of him, especially when I got to know him, he was the most realest person I had ever came across at 17. That's why everything in my life wasn't real. It was fake. My mom done left me. My father done betrayed me. He called me all out my name. The people that used to be there for me. I mean, mind you, I'm a little girl. Now I'm the reject because my parents don't treat me right and our family's all dysfunctional. And then here I go, meeting this old thugged out man, I don't know, young boy with a dog that barked.
So he had a pit bull or something?
He had a black pit bull called Blackie.
At 17?
At 17.
And he saw,
No, wait, at 11. When I met him, he had Boomer.
Oh, Lord.
Well, I mean, I shouldn't say when I met him. When we started dating, he had Boomer, and Boomer was a human. I ain't never seen no dog he know how to speak Spanish, answering in Spanish. Ain't nothing Spanish about DMX. He telling him to take Chinese food from Chinese delivery men. I was like, oh my God, he is my hero, honey. Yes, bad boy.
Every girl and some man have dated a bad boy, but that's why I love it, because there is something fascinating about, like, because here you are, you're like, goody two shoes, you're holding down the household, you're holding down the family, you're doing everything right? And then you meet this man, and there's a little something fascinating about, like, the dark side.
Yes. It was something fascinating.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, he don't care. He really just don't care. And it wasn't like I'm going to kill everybody, don't care. He was just like, man, I want to be free. He said, I don't know who to trust. I don't think no one loved me but this dog. So I'm going to do whatever I want to do, because at the end of the day, ain't nobody care anyway about me. That's what he literally told me. He said, the only person who loved me is this dog right here. He was like, this is the only one who gives me attention. I was like, well, damn, I'm going to be having some competition with a dog. I was like, I mean,
right.
I would tell him literally to leave his dog home when he came to see me. Because if he was to stay the night, he would be like, can he get into bed with us? I was like, absolutely not. That dog better stay on the floor. You're going too far with dog.
It's funny how God works, because here you are, you're a teenage girl, and you have obviously abandonment issues because obviously your father's estranged, although he's there, but he's being mean to you. Mm-hmm. Your mom left, and you meet this beautiful soul with this exterior, a bad boy, but inside, a God-fearing man who obviously has abandonment issues because he feels like his best friend is his dog. And the beautiful works of God is bringing two people together who need each other at that time, and they may not know it. Because where was his parents at the time that you guys met?
So his mom was a single mom. There was 4 children in the home. Each of them had different fathers. So it was something that X would always talk about when I first met him. He was like, whenever I do have children, he said I wanted to be with one woman. And I didn't know anything else, because even though we were, all broken up inside the home, we all came from the same mother and father. So, and I said, why is that? He said, because I know what it feels like. He said, if all the dads are not doing right and only one is doing right, you feel very left out. And he said, even though my mom would try to put a lot of pressure on my sister's father to, if he bring McDonald's to bring for the other kids, he said, it just never felt right to me. He said, it made me feel worse. And I was like, really? But now as a woman, I could understand that, because it's like, I want my dad to bring me something. Why her dad gotta, when you're a kid? And that's what he was saying. So he was very, okay, so the 11-year-old incident that when we first met, I was always very strict home, so we could only go outside when we went to the store. So this particular time, I went outside and I saw him about to take an old lady's purse with his dog. I seen him calling a command, and I talk about this on a funeral. It's a story that I told at his funeral. I came outside and I saw this young little boy, because we're the same age, 11, and he was giving his dog a command, and there's only one TV in the house, so I never really got a chance to see anything exciting. And I just stood there and I watched him give the command, the dog take the purse from this old woman, and they had to run past me. But he was like jogging, running past, because he knew the old lady couldn't catch up to him. And I looked at him like I was in awe, like, wow. And then he gave me this look like, you better not say nothing. And I was like, my hero. Like, I literally was like, who is this boy? Like,
He taught his dog how to take a woman's purse.
yes.
Wow.
Yes. When I tell you his dogs was trained, I've never seen, I'm not even exaggerating. Like on command, like doing things, pick something up. I know the pause is like the normal, but like he really, like he invested so much time in his dogs. And that dog, like it was like almost get close. Like it was a whole plan, and then get him. And he just took the purse and ran. And he used to do that with Boomer right before he became famous. Boomer had a arrest warrant out for him. The dog.
The dog?
Because he stole so many Chinese food bags.
X was a genius.
He really was. So
to be able to teach a dog these things, I'm fascinated by that.
I'm telling you, and I used to be, and now that I be around other dog lovers, I'm like, these dogs are smart. Y'all don't be really invested in dogs. Like,
yeah.
Because I saw him do it.
Wow. When did you know you were in love with him?
Let me see. When did I know I was in love with him? I would say months, because he definitely was in love first, only because when I first met him the first week, and I had abandonment issues and I had my walls up. He told me from that time in front of the building at 11 years old, he fell in love with me then. He said he used to have dreams that he was a lion and I was the princess that would tame him. And I'm almost sure that he says that in an interview, like I would have to dig in the archive. And so he told me that when he met me, when we first went on our first date. And I was like, all right now. I was like, you really trying to get the pussy. Like, nah, this is not going to work. And he was like, no, you'll see. Like, you're going to be my wife. Like, and I was just like, this dude is trying real hard. But the more I got to know him, I like instantly, I was in roommates with my god sister at the time. But soon as I met him, we was like inseparable. Like I was there at he had his own place in his manager's house. It was like a whole floor. And I would stay there all the time. And shoot, I want to say I might have fell in love with him too, like from day one, but it took had my guards up for so long, but then I've never had something that was so consistent. And he was about consistency, which I never had before in anyone. So I was just like, okay, this is going pretty good. And he was so protective, and just so loving. He just gave his heart. Like I'm telling you, I dated, and you would think 17, but I kind of was out on my own after my mom left. So I felt like I was grown before I met him. So I dated a few other guys, young boys before him, but it was no one like him. And it's so funny because I was all into guys that I was very materialistic, I want to say, because of me being so broke and poor. Mm-hmm. I was like, I want to at least date someone who has something. Mm-hmm. And Earl mm-hmm. didn't have anything. I mean, his boots was two size bigger when I met him. I didn't learn that until he one time took his boots off and he had all these socks balled up, and I was like, and he was like, "This is my uncle's boots." I'm telling, like, and he was so attached to my struggle, and I was so like attached to his struggle, like in a way that I was just like, wow, we're the same people. The difference between me and him was though, is that he was very hurt and angry about what his dad not being there for him, and then his mother just not loving him the way he knew he should be loved, because his father's mother, he was very close to her, his grandmother, Mariella, which he talks about in a lot of his songs. She loved him so unconditionally, but he wanted that from his mother. So it was a lot of bitterness there. And I didn't know that at the time, but I knew that as I grew, when I started to start doing work on myself, and I was just like, Earl, you have to let this go. Even though he would still be in his mom's life, he would always try to bring her in, but it was just so painful because she dropped him off at 7 years old at a group home. And she didn't tell him. She just was like, oh, I'm just going to have you visit this place and let's see how you like it. Every time, it never fails, he told me that story, he would just break down and cry. Even to when he was a grown man doing interviews, he would just break down and cry. Like, it hurt him so bad.
Because no matter what age you are, a mother abandoning their child sticks with you. So here you are, your mother leaves you. I'm going to the store, never comes back. His mother, at 7 years old, drops him off. Like, the parallels between the two of you, which is why listen, we're all fans of the two of you, obviously, for years. And we all know, and this is no disrespect to anybody, but the community, the Black community, the hip hop community, we all know at the end of the day, y'all were soulmates. Like, y'all were soulmates.
Yeah.
We've always saw the connection, even when you guys divorced and all that stuff. We'll get to the other stuff later, but y'all two were kindred spirits, and God brought y'all together because you may not know this, and I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody in his life, but God brought you to him to save him.
I believe that.
And the way you had to raise your siblings, by default, your mom leaving, you had to be this man's best friend, not only his lady, then his wife, but also his mom in a sense. Did you know that as you were getting to know him and dating him throughout your young life?
But did I know him?
Did you know that was a role?
Yeah, you know what? Again, to a fault. I loved him so deeply to the point where because we were together like 10 years before he became famous. I say now that was the best times of our life. Nice and broke, appreciating everything that we worked hard for.
Say that one more time, Tashera, because listen, one thing I love about my podcast is we get different perceptions of what happiness is. There's a lot of women on my couch who be like, I need a man with money. And I'm like, girl, go ahead, cook. But no one has ever on my couch ever said something in a way that I can receive it. 10 years of you being with Earl, who we know as X, the happiest moments of your life with him was before he was famous, and you said it was nice and broke.
When I tell you nice and broke, we used to go to ShopRite, go food shopping. He used to make his spaghetti for me. I used to make French toast. We were happy. We made hot chocolate, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And we sitting up like, yo, we need 5-course real meals. Like, he was like, yo, he used to call me Boo. He's like, Boo Boo, I'm telling you I'm going to be famous. He was like, I'm going to get us a house. I'm going to do this. I'm like, all right, Earl. Okay. I was like, listen, I'm like, this boy dreaming real big right now. And he was like, I'm telling you. I mean, he used to always know. But when I tell you it was the happiest times, and he wasn't perfect because a lot of times when stuff got low, he had to go get it. You know what I mean? What he had to go get. And I used to be like, what you got? What you got?
I'm buying it, you Clyde. What you got? Did you? Okay.
I don't know if I ever said this before, but to the point because he asked him he gave me an engagement ring like a year in. And I got it from somebody. He said, I got you. He said, would you marry me? And I said, where you get that ring? He was like, don't worry about it. It's nice. He was like, I know this is something that you would like. I was like, it was so sweet.
I know. Look, sorry to the woman he stole it from, or the dog bit it off her arm or her hand, child. But
you know what?
That's so sweet.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and in his book, right, he has, unfortunately, I just read it like after, never read it while he was alive because I was like, I felt like I knew the story, but fans would say he dedicated a whole page to you. I mean, a chapter. It's called Dog Love. And I just broke down in tears because I was like, that's the love, like the unconditional love that we gave each other. And remind you, I was only like 18, 19 when he did that. So I ain't know no better. But the true story to everything is when we had that first son, everything changed. And that's why he made Slippin', which is a true story.
Slipping, I'm falling, I can't get up.
And I'm in it. I'm on the couch because we used to be nice and broke. And we used to be on that couch eating, and Apollo, we couldn't wait till Apollo came on every Saturday. We'd be sitting on that couch, and I'd be like, yo, look, that could be you. But you want to keep slipping. You just want to keep messing up. You want to keep robbing and stealing. You want to slip into drugs. Like, come on, like, I would literally, and when he did that video, they had a whole nother woman to play it. And he said, we got to the set. Now, mind you, I didn't know he had this in mind. He was like, oh, no one else is playing that role but Tashera. That's the only one. And they was like, but she came all the way. This is an actress, this and that. He said, I don't give a who she is. Was she there with me? Was she there with me when my nigga was down? Or your ex, or you had to break shit down.
Yes.
They was just looking at him. He was like, Tashera playing that part. And I was like, I'm not, like, what am I don't even know what to wear. Like, he was like, what you used to wear? T-shirt and some sweats.
Represent who we were at that time that this song is talking about, yeah.
Yes, meanwhile, that was his second album, so we had a little money then.
Okay,
you know
yeah.
We went back to the projects that we were living in, to the basement apartment. The city let us open it up, and we did the video in that same apartment that we lived in. And it was like, I mean, like, to your point about the soulmate, like, before he passed, I used to get aggravated because people would say that. And it was true. When we were around each other,
oh, yeah,
we finished each other's sentences. Like, no disrespect to the women that he was with, but a lot of them used to be feeling some kind of way. And there was nothing sexual going on. It's just that we were binded solely together. Like, it was magical, to be honest with you. And it used to aggravate me, though, because I'm like, but we can't get it together, though, because this man want to be running around with every Tom, Dick, and Harry. I can't, once I knew my worth, I was like, I can't. Yeah. And, I got kids now. Somebody got to stand up. I don't want my sons to be doing that. Like,
Did the first time he cheated on you, was he already famous when that happened, or... Because infidelity played a huge part in, obviously, the destruction of the relationship.
Well, I'm going to be totally transparent. When the first time I ever found out he cheated on me, Xavier was 7 months. And he was in Baltimore because he used to be out in Baltimore the Rough Riders used to try to keep him out of trouble. It was like they were getting his deal together. And I knew something wasn't right. X was a very good father. Like, he was there for Xavier. He was just like, I got to bring my son with me. Tashera, can I bring my son if I'm going to be, away from y'all for so long? Because I had to work. And he wasn't answering the phone. And I was like, something ain't right. Because me and X, this is before cell phones. But he would always let me know they had a block phone. You know how I don't know if you remember. Like,
I do, yeah.
So I was like, he didn't give me the block phone number. I'm like, something ain't right. I got on the train with my girlfriends, and I had to have been 21, or maybe 22, because Xavier, I had him when I was 21. We done got on the Amtrak. I knew the spots they used to stay at, popped up at a Motel 6, got it from one of his friends, because I said he wanted me to bring him some food. He was slipping, knocked on that outside door, because Motel 6 is outside.
It is.
And he opened up that door with his boxers on, with his cigarette in his hand, shaking so bad. And I was like, pushed him out the way, me and my girlfriend. And I was so black out of it that I didn't even see a girl sitting on a bed with my son.
Xavier was there?
He was 6 months old, so he didn't know who was his mama. He was probably like, this my mama.
No, Lord.
And when I tell you, I tried to I was going to pick up Xavier though, but he thought I was getting ready to hit her, and he like pushed me, and he was like, she's pregnant and you can go to jail for hitting a pregnant girl in this state. And I said, pregnant? By who? He said, I don't know. She's homeless. I was just helping her.
Man.
Ma'am, that's what I'm gonna be very transparent.
Yeah.
Like, I got juicy stuff. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, right? Honey, I was like, and I said, I'm gonna tell you right now, you gonna make it, this is a true story. I said, my girlfriend's right there to prove. I said, I don't know what you talking about homeless, but I'm about to walk out this door with our son. You gonna choose right now. You want this pregnant girl on this bed, or you coming back to Yonkers with me? And he said, started grabbing his stuff. He said, I'm coming back with you. And the girl said, what about me? How am I get home? He said, I don't know, figure it out.
Men.
Men. And mind you, I'm 22. So I'm like, I had no remorse. You know what I'm saying? I was just like,
all of us are 20s. We made decisions and choices that fit us at that time. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? There's no judgment. But was she pregnant by him?
So it's so funny. I'll bring this up. Now when he passed away, coming out the woodworks, and that was one. And I did so he literally blew up a year after that. And me and him would always say, because we only had Xavier, we said, if we have a daughter, we're going to name her Raven. And I found out, because I'm doing my research, I'm calling the block, I found out the girl's name. So I said, hey, she had that baby yet? They said, yeah, she had a girl, her name is Raven. I almost lost my whole entire mind, but I didn't say nothing, because I know him. He not gonna admit it. Something had came up, and I asked him though. I said, yo, I heard that the homegirl that had the baby, she named her Raven. I was like, you have anything to do with that? He was like, what? Child, she must have remembered that I want to name my daughter Raven, just as I suspected. He wasn't going to be honest. Homegirl came out the closet. Well, I shouldn't say out the closet, because obviously she lived her whole life thinking that was her father, because I had conversations with her. But when it was time to take the blood test, she was negative.
Oh, so that wasn't his.
His. I found out. Found out 28 years later.
So for 28 years in the back of your mind as a woman,
I thought that was
you're thinking that that's his daughter.
And it wasn't.
And she took the DNAs after he passed away.
After he passed away. And to be honest with you, I thought she was too.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, you definitely was fucking her. Like, I don't know if I can say that, but you definitely was fucking her. She in the room, she pregnant, you must have your kid. You raggedy dude, but I'm so young, you know? And I was just like, okay. No, you know what? Actually, no. After that, we broke up for a whole year. We actually wound up getting back together when he came to me and he said, Tashera, I promise you that will never happen again. I'm about to get a deal. He was like, I want to take care of you and Xavier. And I was like, at that time, I had dated a couple of guys. I was like, ain't nothing out here. And you know, we've always had that connection, and that's how we got back together. But a whole year, we broke up after that. I was like, I kicked him out after. He said, I came home with you and everything. I said, I don't trust you. And then that was it. And yeah, I'm just thinking that now. I'm like, yeah, I forgot a year.
Broke up for a year.
That was the first time, though, to be totally transparent. And then I'll be honest with you, I just was so secure in our relationship and our marriage. I mean, X is not the type of person that's going to get married if he don't want to. You can't make that man do nothing he don't want to do. And, you know, that's the problem with, you know, I'll speak freely, you know, because a lot of people didn't really know him. They think they did. You know, he was somebody who I feel like he was always looking for his mother's love. And unfortunately, a lot of women in that path, you know, got hurt and may have had children. And I know this because me and him had that conversation, but I knew it already. I just asked him, you know, and he felt very ashamed of that because he started to realize that he's looking for love in the wrong places, and it's causing him a lot of money, a lot of grief, a lot of, you know, child support. And, you know, to know him, to love him is to know him. And I promise you, I could say this, my family, when they hear it, they never could understand why I could never bring myself to hate him. And I said it's because I've known him since he was a kid. And the more I done work on myself, I understood what was missing in him. And I begged him to do therapy. He, in his last year of life, he was so excited, and he told me, he said, boo boo, he still called me boo boo to the end. He was like, I'm doing therapy. And I was like, and he was telling me what he learned in there, and it was at the beginning stage of, because he died like a year after that. But he was, trying to get some closure because he didn't want to live the way he was living, but no one really knew him. That's the problem. And, when we got together, it was almost like he felt like his coat, like I could see that he had no clothes on. Like every time he brought something, because I would always welcome whoever he's dating. Come on over, bring them over, girl, bring them over. I don't want them to feel any kind of way. And I'll welcome anybody. And then I would see the women that he was dealing with. And it was interesting to me how there's a lot of broken in him. Because once you've totally healed, you can
recognize that in other
men and women,
other people, yeah,
in other people, and I found it very interesting. I've actually was able to kind of learn and grow from seeing the different women that X was with, if that even, and I feel really good about saying that now because I do interviews because I'm hoping that I could help someone else. Or see someone else would see themselves in me and don't feel ashamed that, I fought hard to get healing. Like I wanted to be healed. Like I forgave him, but I had to understand myself at the same time. Like, why did you allow so many different things? Like are something wrong with you? Is this a little mental illness going on with you? Like, because I was just like, I allowed a lot of things that he did within the marriage. And
like what? Like infidelity?
Well, he wasn't, there was women that we came into hotel rooms in other cities and they were laying in his bed butt naked and he went under different names. And I think there were women that were worked in the hotel. So I knew that I can't be there all the time. What are you going to do with a woman that's going to be butt naked in your room? Maybe you won't have sex with her right then and there, but there was women that threw their panties at him when I was right there. He used to feel very disrespected, though. That's one thing I could say. He was like, yo, my wife is standing right here. Like, he used to get real aggressive, like, yo, chill, shorty. Like, but I'm like, what is he doing when I'm not around? So, but I never focused on those things because I knew I had his heart. And I had kids at home. I was running our empire. Like, he was the artist and I ran everything, like behind the scenes.
Talk about that because we don't know that. So you held it down, like the finances, the business deals. Like, what were you doing exactly?
I held down the finances. I did the hiring and the firing. Every accountant, we picked the managers together, but the accountants down to, I would say the row managers and stuff like that, he would pick, but I would pick the assistant that he would have to make sure his clothes was right, unpacked, because I wanted to make sure they had a nurturance, because he was a different kind of beast. Like, you had to have tough skin to assist him. So I would always, he was like, if my wife agreed, day on. Bought all the houses, scouted everything out, from LA to Canada to Arizona, every house that he had to do a movie in, house that we lived in. We had like 4 different houses at the time when we were married, and paid every check, did the taxes. Everything. All he gave allowance. He had an allowance because he spent too much money. So he had the Amex, but he had a limit because I was like, yo, you just, in 2 days, you just bought a house. Like, what are you out there doing? And he's paying everybody's dinners. And he was fine with that. He had serious trust issues, and he was like, Tashera, I had his full trust, and he knew that I had him. I was not letting it go down. So, and it was a devilish game that we were in. But I learned, the more time went on, I noticed that I became the bad guy because I was no longer being a yes man. Like the more famous he got, the more higher he got, the more foolishness he did, you know, wasting a lot of money, flying a helicopter when you're shooting a movie. And the sunlight, this is a millions dollar budget. Like you have to do that later. So I would have to literally be on set. And no, I'm telling no exaggeration. Like anybody that was part of his camp, they would know, like they would have to come get me. They'll just be like, Tashera, I'll be like, if it's really, really like ridiculously, like, what are y'all getting paid for? And they're like, we can't get him to move. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'll go and he'll just like turn into this little boy. And as soon as he see me, he'll like, oh God, I'm in trouble now. Who called her? Literally.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, I'm like, yo, like, I'm the one that got to deal with this. Like, no one's saying anything to you. Like, we've just lost all this money now that's going to come out of our stuff. And to your point, when you said, when did you realize that you were all these things? In those, he was the head of the household before he got famous. You know, I played my role. He was the head of the household. And when we got in this, it kind of, the tables turned a bit. But I realized, I just felt like I started finding out a lot of things. They was keeping, like, well, this is after we separated, but I found out that he had in his writer always 2 rooms. I would always be there. And I was an insecure woman, so if he was doing something, like he wouldn't come in at night, I'll be like, I wouldn't even think of it, because I would be out with him until 7 in the morning. Where I'm like, I'm not doing this. So when he came in, I ain't think none of it. So I was finding out a lot of things, but even still, I was just like, what is he gonna do if I leave him? I'm like, he's gonna die. Like, I literally used to feel like that. I was like, and that was crazy for me to even jeopardize my happiness and my mind and my heart and my soul, because I literally worshiped him. I didn't realize that. And you know, we serve a jealous God.
Yeah.
And I know now that it was nothing but God who separated me and him. It was nothing but God who tear down my idol, so that way that I can rise and live and be the woman before he calls me home. Because had I have not been stripped from that, I would have been there to the end, one leg, just jumping around like, what you need me to do? I'll help you out. Like, it was just, I just loved him so deeply, and I felt almost like I was his mother instead of a wife. I didn't even get a chance to be a wife. I was a wife to him, though. I was everything to him. But I don't know if I really got a chance to have a real husband. Now that I look back, I'm like, damn, I didn't have a husband, though. You know, I had a boy.
Is that why you filed for divorce?
Yep.
Because you just realized it was too much for you.
It was too much. And to be honest with you, the drugs, I would have stayed there to the end. I would have rocked to the end for the drugs. I mean.
Did the drugs happen prior to the fame?
Yeah,
did the fame accelerate it?
Yep. Prior to the fame, very lightly, you know, but once.
Was it like, what was his drug of choice prior to the fame? Like just?
Coke. Well, you know, first of all, you know, I don't know, he talks about it wasn't his choice. Someone put it in his weed.
Yes.
And then he liked it, and that's how he would do it back then, before fame and fortune. You know, every once in a while, he'll just be doing his little binges. I should say a one-day binge. It wasn't crazy. But when he had the money and no one can control it, and then no one's holding him accountable but me, it just got crazy. And it was uncontainable. I mean, I talk about this in my book. Just, you know, I'll go anywhere and bust down anybody's door if he needs to go to a show. And that was so out of my character. I'm not a fighter. I'm not a confrontational. Like, I like to stay in this peaceful box. But if the ex is if he's doing something that's going to harm him and harm his career, I'm coming for anybody. Like, he turned me into a gangster on the low. Like, I was totally out of myself. And I didn't realize that until we separated, because it got really
worse.
bad.
It got worse.
It got so bad, and that's why I said I know it was God, because it was just, and then my son, that's what happened. My son, overheard an argument, and he said, when I get of age, I'm going to kill my father. And that was my breaking point. I was like, at that moment, I realized it's not about me anymore. I'm raising this young boy. He's 14 years old, the same age when I got abandoned. And I was like, he deserves more. And I know his dad is not doing right. And I'm holding on to something that is not even there anymore. This is beyond the marriage vows. I know this is not what God had me sign up for. And it was a strength and a love I had for my children because I didn't have it for myself. I could truly tell you that. I did not. Like, I would never do that again. When I look back now, though, I'm just like, but I'm not ashamed of it. It actually makes me feel good that, especially in his death, because I was always my biggest fear that it would happen on my watch. And I saw him 6 days before it happened. And he told me, he said, and I hadn't seen him in a while before then, and me and him share a goddaughter. And we went to celebrate her, and he came and he said, I'm telling him, listen, the boy's getting big now. I've done my job. I know this album's about to come out and everything, but you need to start messing with your sons more. And he went left like he always do, in deep thought though, and he said, Tashera, my soul, my vessel, he said, my vessel is so tired. He was like, and this may not make sense to you right now, Tashera. He said, but what I do know is my name will live on forever. And at that moment, I was like, this dude always being so deep. He wanted to dodge to what I'm talking about. But I never, in my head, I would always listen to him, but I'll just be like, here we go. 6 days later, it happened. And a song came on that I was in the studio for. And when he wrote it, and his voice sounds so strong, and it was at this, the, what do you call that, vigil. He was still hooked up on the machine. And that's the first time I cried, because when that prayer came on, I knew that's what he was, I knew he wasn't going to make it. I knew that's why he told me that.
He knew that he was going to transition.
He knew. And that's why he was like, my vessel is tired. And
that's deep to say, not physically tired, my soul is tired. The fact that he said my vessel is tired, that's deep.
It is. And everything that came out that man's mouth was always so deep. Always. Yeah. And I was telling a friend the other day, I said, I'm grateful that I was able to do life with him so long, that he was one of my best friends. And, I don't really look, the good so outweighed the bad. And like, I'm here today, the strong woman that I am, because of everything. Like, he's a part of everything that I am today. And that's what we're here for. God has used us to be vessels in life. And that's why I came out with this book, Dying to Self, because don't get it twisted, unless you connect with the higher source, you ain't coming out of that. Like, what I make this sound so nice, and maybe not, but it was very traumatic. The hurt was so deep that my heart was doing palpitations to get out of this space. I was depressed for 5 years. I did not know who I was. My calendar in my home had X's whole schedule and my kids. I had no life of my own, even though I thought I was doing something by monitoring and managing him and my kids, because I thought that was my job. But God has something greater for me, like he does individually for all of us. And we should never be in a relationship to the point where we lose ourselves.
Yeah.
And a healthy spouse would know that. But he wasn't healthy, He wasn't healthy, and I know that because I've known him since he was a kid. We both wasn't healthy. I'm celibate 10 years now, and I talk about that in my book about being celibate and what it has done for me, because I can't give myself to anyone and I don't even know who I am. Like,
I'm going to ask you, have you, because we haven't seen you with a man since the divorce, and publicly, obviously, we don't know what you're doing, in your private life, but you don't, So you've been celibate for 10 years.
So I've been celibate for 10 years. And me and ex was separated like in 2013. So that'll be the juice, right? Because in the book, I talk about very detailed about my sex life, and I had a sex addiction.
You had a sex addiction with him or with?
Well, we both were sex addicts. I'll just be honest.
Okay.
I know y'all can't, you know you don't gotta figure out if X was a sex addict. Cause
Yeah.
But I actually have a high sex drive as well, and I didn't realize that until I started trying to date, and I talk about that in the book.
Oh.
That's
okay.
Yeah, and something I talk about in the book too is I used to have a lot of sexual fantasies of being with two men.
At the same time?
Yes.
Did you fulfill it?
They gotta see that in a book, baby. I got in a book, baby.
Get the book, Dying to Self, to get that juice. Okay. Well, let me ask you this. Were you also faithful throughout the marriage?
I was. I was so scared. You know what, to be honest with you, I never thought about cheating because, in the end, I did, not in the end, but when stuff was really bad, I thought about it. But you know what? Even when I was trying to date, X used to always tell me, I talk about this in the book, ain't nobody gonna want no DMX's wife. And I was scarred.
Yeah.
I was really scarred by that. And then when I did try to date, people were intimidated and they felt like, they had this, one of them thought they needed to live up to his standards. Another one felt they didn't have enough money. And mind you, I wasn't going, I was just like, I don't care what you got. I just want you to have a good heart. As long as you're not a user, I'm not taking care of you. But as long as you have some potential and, you trying to go somewhere in life, we good. I'm not trying to look for no billionaire, millionaire. But it was one of the reasons, too, why I decided to just, I'm like, I need to figure this out because God send me, I'm leaving it all in God's hands. But I really know now, looking back now, being celibate 10 years, it only started being one. I was like, okay, God, I'm going to do 1 year. And that's all I'm giving you. This is how bad I was. And now 10 years in.
How is it 10 years in, sis? Is it?
No, you know what? I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's the connection for me.
With the high.
I hear God. Yeah, I hear him so clear because of the purity. Having sex with other people, you sharing different spirits.
Yes, you are.
Ties and and it's like now that it's just, I just feel so pure that I'm like, God, I don't even know who you sending because they gotta be a man of God for real. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to take on those spirits because, honey, when I tell you a prayer warrior, I'm a prayer warrior. And the things that I pray about and manifest, it comes to pass. I'm not just saying that.
No, I believe
literally
you.
prayed with a family that just her son was 23. He was a child, a friend of my son's. He died in a car accident. I've never prayed for something with a parent because I was just like, I can't even imagine that. After my prayer, she had one son left now. I think he's 28. And her, that she said she don't even have a relationship with God. She said, what church you go to? She said, I'm coming with you on Sunday. She said, that prayer, 3 people prayed for us. Your prayer just hit me different. And I said, in my mind, I said, you know why? Because I'm coming from a pure soul and heart. And I'm connected with him because I've allowed all the distractions out my life. That's what dying itself is about. Dying to my flesh. And allowing my spirit man to live in me. And I'm telling you, it's heavy and it's powerful. I'm telling you, Carlos, I can't. If I was out here sleeping around and taking on these other spirits, I wouldn't be pure at the words and the Holy Spirit that come out of my mouth.
Obviously, when you hear 10 years, you like, now, okay, Tashera, now, baby, what's that like? But after hearing the fact that God is fulfilling you in a way that whatever you are experiencing, Tashera, is so powerful that you're like, I'm not about to ruin this relationship I have with God to fulfill a hormonal need. And the thing about you that I just want the world to know is there's not an ounce of bitterness around you. You're full of light. You're full of life.
Thank you.
You're happy. You know, because what you went through can make any person, not just woman, it can make any person bitter and be mad at life, be mad at God, and be mad at the world. But you have the opposite effect to where you're embracing the world, you're embracing your space. And I also want to get into the fact that what you said earlier, you're also embracing the fact that, look, your ex-husband, DMX, obviously has 15 children with 9 different women. And that's your reality right now. You're the only wife that is in the equation. Based on all of that, what is your relationship like now with the women that he had children with?
So, what I would say is that a few of them I connected with. I see a lot of the broken little girl, the little girls, the brokenness, the broken little girl that I was in them, which brings like my heart, my heart goes out to them when I meet them. Most of them are very respectful, and they feel honored to be in my presence. That's the vibes I get from some of them. But then we have a handful that is, I'm gonna be transparent, they're so broken by what my ex-husband has done to them that they take it out on me. Because I had what they always wanted, which was the love and the respect that they never got from him. And hurt people. And I promise you, anybody that knows me, I always lead with love and light. And it bothers them. I see it, but I still move in love. And it's a bunch of them that are doing some things that I can't talk about legally right now. That is so evil. And I still forgive them.
Amen.
Because I know my God, I know who he is. And I pray for them because vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. I just continue to live life, do what I can do. And I pray that God saves their soul because I've watched my father live in bitterness. I watched my ex-husband live a life of bitterness. And I never wish that on my worst enemy. And you can't totally live free and have a relationship with God when your heart is so dark and bitter. And that's what I could say. And in moving forward, as things start to come to the light, I'll share some more. Maybe we could do another part 2. But
I would love to.
God's word will come to pass. And I know that because we here now. And like what you said, it's like there's no piece of dick that's worth, I'm about to get emotional, that would tear me from the relationship with God. I can't. He's so good. I can't. And I just trust that God is going to, when in the right time, bring me someone who will be able to love me the way God loves me. But do I have urges every once in a while? But what comes with that, I can't jeopardize. So I remain where I am right now, steadfast and solid with God and doing his work. And that's why I wrote the book, because I want people to hopefully get to this place that I am now. If they just give him a year, give God a year. He wakes us up every day.
Yeah.
He guides us. He blesses us. He forgives us.
Yeah.
He loves us. I've never met a love like this before. I never met a love like God before. When I think about it, you know what? And my ex-husband brought me to Christ, and he wrote a song, and it's this first song, and he's 10 years before he got famous, and in his song, he said, I never knew a love like this before. And I'm trying to remember the words. He said, to get away from the rain, I'm under the ceiling, to get away from the pain. And I didn't get it then, but I get it now. And his voice and his words are still speaking to me because for most of those songs, I was there while he wrote it. And I know there's a movie, whether it's going to be mine or his, but I have to say this publicly. It'll never be a real DMX movie unless I'm attached to it.
I don't want to watch a DMX movie unless you're attached.
We'll talk about that.
You're the DNA to all of this.
Because I've done this most of my life. Try to explain myself, or try to comfort them, to make them understand what they're doing is wrong. Well, I don't have the energy to do that. If you don't know that already, you got to deal with God. Because what I do know is wrong and right is right. And I was his wife. I'm sorry that what he did to these women, I'm sorry. I feel bad for you. That's why I try to embrace you. But I am not the villain here. I'm just as victim as everybody else. And that's why I know that, you have to be very broken not to be able to see yourself in that light, but to take it out and project on someone else who has done nothing, absolutely nothing to you. And it's a lot of that out there. Unfortunately, I was subjected to that with my dad, so thank God though. And I was going to say to you something that came to me yesterday. The wilderness is so necessary, because what happens in the wilderness, depending on how long we in there, God just continues to strip us and strip us and strip us to the point where we're like, you know what? We never needed all that. All we have is you, and that's all I ever needed.
Yeah.
I try to take my whole house with me, my coat, my bags, my shoes. I'm trying to keep all this together, and all I ever needed was you, God.
Yes.
Thank you. And that's why I am now, and that's why I'm so transparent, and that's why I wrote the book, Dying to Self. It may go over a lot of people's heads because it takes a lot of work to get to where I am today. I had to let down a lot of my idols. Sex was one of the biggest ones. It was comforting to me. I don't drink, I don't smoke. Occasionally I have wine at dinner, but I'm not a drinker. But I love to have sex. That was my thing. That just did it for me. And it wasn't doing nothing, really. I was just taking on a bunch of spirits and souls that wasn't going where God's trying to take me. And that's why it was staggering. It was leaving me staggered. And and it's the worst place to be. I didn't know why I was feeling the way I did. But I just wanted to have more sex. And, I talk about it in the book. And some of the guys, all of them were always a lot younger than me. Not a lot, but like 5 or 6 years old. And they, to the point where they were like, I think you're using me for sex. These very, very sexually active men. They were like, are you just using me for sex? And I was just like, why would you say that? And if that was the case, isn't that a good thing?
Right, because exactly. You would think
that.
Yeah.
You don't want to have sex.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's all. It's, when someone has a drug as their choice, they're just, that's, and, God showed me. I said, I started to see it. And I said, God, if that's the truth, can you reveal that to me? Be careful what you ask for.
He'll do it.
He did. Carlos, he did it. And I felt dirty. And when I tried to do it again, I felt dirty. And I said, Lord have mercy, God, now but I had to get to a point to finally say, God, if it is, at first I was like, I'm not stopping, God. Everything's going, everything. I don't got no husband no more.
Yeah.
I'm like, God, I just have this. I don't do drugs. I'm a good person. God was like, girl, bye. He was like, this
It's because you were worshiping sex. It was an addiction. Yeah. It wasn't like you just having sex, because I want to be clear, like, you are admitting that you were addicted to it and you were worshiping the act of it, and you were exchanging spirits. And that's what a lot of people don't know. It's the transference of energy when you allow your body to mate with someone else. Like that's big.
Yeah, it is. And we take it so lightly.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that.
And trust me, my heart goes out to people that, is struggling in that area. Because let me tell you, I will sit with some women and they're like, your skin look good, your energy, your light, I love your energy, sis. What's going on? And I was like, I'm a vegan. They like, oh, okay.
I'm vegan too.
What? Yes,
yeah,
my brother.
I don't drink or smoke either.
So we on the same page. Like, it's just, we're not.
But when you tell the women like, I'm vegan and I'm celibate, they be like, now look, girl, I'm making
heads turning.
I'm making eat some plant-based meals, honey, but I don't know about
we ain't going there. No, they like talking about me behind my back and everything. You could tell. They like, oh, girl, we don't even want to talk to you right now after that one. It was like, oh, that's nice. Like, I was just like, I chuckle now because I'm just like, I get it, y'all. I was there.
And the other thing, tell me some people, is your journey. It's your journey.
Yeah.
It's your journey. And I love the journey that you're on. Before I let you go, I do want to address the stuff that's been out in the public, which is when DMX died, unfortunately, he died broke. And he died owing the IRS. Subsequently, there is this sort of battle when it comes to the estate. Who gets to control the estate? Obviously, you were his legal wife at one point. The other women were not his legal wife. Somebody recently tried to do a common law marriage thing that got denied. You stand still as of today as the only woman he legally married. Are you able to share what's going on in the process of the will? Because is it, and I want you to educate the world in terms of the difference between the will and the estate. Because when you are a public figure, for example, we just talked about doing the movie about DMX. Whoever controls the estate, right, legally can do the movie and obviously profit from it, and then from there can determine how they want to distribute it. The will, obviously, he didn't have a will, unfortunately, which is why Black people, let me speak to my community, get a will. I don't care if you only have $10,000 in the bank. I don't care if you have $10. Get a will, because it saves so much drama that happens, whether you're married or you're single, you have a kid, whatever. It helps save the process of people fighting for things, where if you have this legal document, all of that will be handled. Unfortunately, at DMX level, he did not have that. And there is this legal process going on determining who gets to control the estate. Where are you with that as of today?
Damn. So what I can say is there is a lot of fighting going on, unfortunately. I've always heard that money is the root of all evil, and it brings the worst out of people. Me and my four children are the only children in wedlock. In this estate world, it holds a lot of weight. But, everyone else feels, it's
entitled.
Entitled. Entitled. And there's a lot of, not all, I don't want to, I want to be clear, because I really like a lot of the women. And I feel like the kids is, it's not their fault what's happening, but like what I was saying is flowing over to a lot of the bitterness, and it's like a lot of them just feel entitled. They want to remove us. That's really what's happening. It's a lot of fighting. No one wants to come together and, I feel like X lived a life that was so messy already. So why as adults we can't come together and, and manage this the right way now? But a lot of hurt people. And that's why I want to say more, but there will be a time where I will. But right now, because X didn't leave a will, there's a bunch of fighting. And like I said, it's a lot of the fighting is towards the wrong people. The person who they should be angry with and hurt with. Because when X was alive, he wasn't giving them nothing. He wasn't
paying child support.
He wasn't paying child support. He was, that's why he had a lot of child support cases, You see, he went to the IRS. X was a wild boy.
Do you remember how much money, maybe you know this when you were married to him, so maybe I could just limit it to that. But DMX, I mean, we're talking about Jay-Z, Nas, at one Ja Rule. Like, I'm talking about people 50 who made Def Jam a lot of money, right? Do you recall in his prime, in the heyday, how much money he accumulated?
Man, I remember looking at our bank accounts and the zeros wouldn't stop. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. He got $10 million a movie, and that wasn't even including all his shows. He made like millions just doing a show. And when he went on tour, I mean, he would come back with, I want to say we were very close to being billionaires. Like, X made a lot. It was so much money. And
I'm not surprised because X, I mean, I'm not, it's okay. I'm not exaggerating when I say the levels of Jay-Z, who is a billionaire. So you guys were close to being billionaires.
Very close. And I remember when they first started, they asked X about the Barclays Center. I never forget it. They called him and said, Jay is in, and they want to know if you want to put in $1 million to get in. And, for the people out there, unfortunately, when I hate to say ignorant, but it's when we're ignorant and we don't have any real business sense, X didn't see that as a good investment. And I saw it, and I didn't even have a lot of business sense, but I was just like, it's a no-brainer. Why wouldn't we go in the pot with them? X didn't want to do it. And now look, so that's what a lot of bad business decisions. And he spent a lot of money. And
on what though? Just like
taking care of everybody and their mama. That was him. I mean, he'll pay, somebody died, he'll pay their whole entire funeral. We went, he would go to vacation, he would rent the whole entire hotel out. We would spend over $150,000 sometimes a day. No, I'm not even exaggerating. That's why, like, I'm so humbled. Like, when I see, like, I just don't see money the way I used to. Well, for one, I know that it needs to be invested.
Yeah.
It needs to work for you because money comes and goes, because I would have never thought that we would be broke.
And money's energy.
Money is energy.
Just like we said, sex is energy, money's energy.
Yes.
And God wants to give you the fruits of your labor.
Yes.
So when people say God and money, no, God will pour out blessings from the storehouse where you won't have enough room to receive it, right? So God wants you to be rich and wealthy and all those things, but it is, at the end of the day, it's still energy. And God, the Lord giveth and taketh away. Mm-hmm. So when he sees you mishandling blessings and not doing it, whether, like you said, maybe tithing or like doing the right thing with it.
Well, that's a good point. That's where I learned tithing from. So he always tithe. So this is the thing with X though, right? And I had to learn on my own that he was playing games with God. He got a little manipulative, and I know that now, because he felt like if he paid his tithes, that he'll be good. But what I didn't know is he was committing adultery. He was creating other families, broken families. He was hurting children. Because this is what he's really doing by stepping out of his marriage.
Just because you're doing one thing that is great doesn't give you the excuse to do the 20 things that you know ain't good.
Yep. And that's what his mindset
I
really
received
was.
that.
And I remember I asked him one time, I said, because I remember I didn't really get into God until after we separated. So I was like, you know, adultery, God holds adultery like next to murder, because what happens is it's not really about the husband and the wife. It's about the generations and the families that we break apart. He's like, what? He was like, man, King Henry had all these wives, this, that, and the third. And then I had to go ask a pastor, and they said, girl, he's reading out of the old Bible back in before Christ. She was like, that's not the New Living, like
New Testament.
The Old Testament. That's the word language. And I started to learn that X had one foot in and one foot out. So all these people are my teachers, because I learned from him that you can't play around with God. You can't say that you walking with him, but you still playing with the devil. And X knew better. But you know, we in this fleshly body, and we manipulate ourselves to say that, you know, because X was a man of God. Don't get me wrong. Like, he knew his father. I saw him manifest his whole life. But when he got up in that devil's playground, which is the music industry, I saw him gain the world and lose his soul. And that scared the hell out of me.
I saw him gain the world, but lose his soul. Gain the world,
and
but
lose his soul.
That's big.
And that scared me.
And what's also interesting is, you know, you can make all that money and then die not having anything to show for it.
And that hurts me. Like, all these women that's fighting and feel they're entitled, they fighting for pennies.
Because I was going to ask you, there's no money to be distributed.
No, his biggest assets is his catalogs, his music.
And who has that as of today? Or is that what's up for debate? That's part of it. So he did own he
wrote all his stuff.
So the good thing is DMX owned his catalog, which is huge.
Yes. So it was a lot of good assets.
Yeah.
But cash that we had for years while we were together was gone when he passed, which I didn't know until, you know, he passed.
What is your relationship like now with like Swizz Beatz, Eve, and the Rough Riders family?
I would say it's okay. Like, we haven't seen each other in a while since the funeral. Joaquin, the Rough Riders, I just saw them because we did something for X's birthday, the 18th. I haven't seen Eve for a while. And Swizz, we talk every once in a while, but to be honest with you, after X passed away, and I would say it's me, something happened in me. I didn't think that, I thought, oh, we weren't together, but I really felt like a part of me was totally gone. And I was mad at everybody, to be honest with you. I don't even know why. I just was just like, I guess I blamed everybody for not holding him accountable. Even though now, you know, doing some drug programs of surviving, you know, with being with addicts, you know, I've learned that, you know, it's no one else's fault but the person that's on the drug. And but I just was going through this weird stage, like season when he passed away, where, you know, they were calling me, they were reaching out, and I wouldn't even answer the phone. I was just really down in the dumps, to be honest with you. I just could not believe that my childhood friend, sweetheart, just is gone now. Like, so it was just, I feel like it was more me. So I feel like we're all in a good place because it's always love when we see each other. But I've been kind of on this journey since he passed, and finding myself even more though, because when X passed, I think before he passed, I still feel like I was in a place where I needed a little validation from him, because whenever I saw him, only because he is the longest friend that I had. Like, he knows me inside out. So, you know, I was just like, when he saw me, he'll be giving me compliments, and I would say, because I never would pray, I would be like, you pray. Every time when we got out of bed, he would be like, let's pray. And he would pray. And then he'll be like, Tashera, you need to start praying. And I'm like, no, you're the good prayer. So then like a few years before he passed, I was like, I'll be praying now. And then he'd be like, okay, what you got? Like, you know what I'm saying? And then I would pray and he'd be like, woo. He was like, I felt that. Yeah. Like, so I didn't realize that, I was kind of looking at him too, like, look, like, the things that I wasn't able to do, like I'm doing it now. And it was just something personal inside of me that we don't really know until the person dies. And then you're like, damn, I was like kind of looking for some validation in my spiritual life too. Because regardless of what he did, he knew God.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I knew he was playing. He's playing around.
Yeah.
Like a lot of us do, to be honest with you. That's why there's no judgment. But
I want to share this story with you.
No, I just told myself.
Okay. I don't know if you know this, but right before he passed away, X had a deal with me to do a reality show.
Carlos.
Did you know that?
Yes, I knew the name, but I did not know that
it was me.
A black man.
It was me. And I'm glad you said black man, because long story short, it was me up against a bunch of white-owned production companies. And long story short, his manager called me and said, X wants to go with you because he said you're spiritual. And he said he can tell that God is in you and that he loves God, that you love God.
Who's that, Pat Gallo?
Yes. He said he likes you. He said, no shade to you. I'm shocked. Like, because, we got, no shade. The business.
X no.
All these powerful white men. He said, no, I like Carlos. God is in Carlos. And there's something spiritual about Carlos. So long story short, we had pitch meetings with BET. He was present. I told Pat, I said, I got to talk to Tashera and all this stuff. Long story short, I want the world to know, in my brief time of knowing him, what I can share to you, that man loved God and he loved you. And I want you to know that. And unfortunately, the reason why nothing happened with the show, we had a few offers.
Was it the show that he was saying that he wanted to go with the baby moms?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know how much he shared with you, but Waka Flocka's mom had wanted, I never met her, but Deb, she was reaching out through all people trying to get me. And she sent me this picture. And she said, X wanted to do a reality show. And at the end of the show, he wanted to take you up to this mountain and apologize to you. She said, he told me this before he left my house the week before he passed away. His plan at the end of the show was to say sorry to you. And she said, and I said, she said to him, why this rock? He said, because this is when, right before everything happened with me and Tashera, and she'll know. And when she showed me the picture, I broke down in tears because the picture was when we first moved to Arizona, and I know that rock that he's talking about. So how does the world...
so that's how it was. So long story short, our situation did not occur because that's when he went to jail for the IRS stuff.
Yes.
So that's why we stopped doing it. Then when he got out, he was entertaining other people courtesy of his team. But I just wanted to let you know that
I remember
that God was in him. And I needed, before this interview ended, I wanted you to know that I can co-sign and say, I saw God in him. And the beauty of that man is he was able to see God in people, and he saw God in me. He said, no, I like him, and I want to do a show with him. So listen, he's in this room right now, and he brought us together.
Yes, he did.
I am happy that I had the exclusive interview with you. This means the world to me.
So to me now, even telling me that, it's like this was ordained.
Yeah, I needed you to know that. So everybody get Dying to Self. When is it out, girl?
Oh yeah, so it comes out March 4th, and you can pre-order dyingtoself.org is where you could do the pre-orders. You will not be sorry. It's a dive into killing your flesh and raising up in your spirit, and giving real life stories. And I have a lot other, but I'll just start.
Yeah, we give y'all a little teaser. We want you to get the book. dyingtoself.org. Pre-order the book, okay, before it's available in stores in March.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Tashera.
Thank you for having me, Carlos.